later. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. I'm really excited to see so many new faces to the webinar series, but so many faces that I know as well. So this is really, really fun for me. For those that I don't know very well, my name's Elizabeth King. I have a PR and marketing firm in Tulsa. And really, you know, how I got started in this is because my clients and people that I would talk to were always saying, what works? You know, when it comes to marketing, what are the latest tactics? What works? And so I found that, you know, there's a lot of people that are just confused or overwhelmed by all of the different marketing options and tactics out there. And they just really don't know what's right for their business. I mean, it could be social media or print, or, you know, there's so many different options. And a lot of people just don't know where to start. You know, I talked to other people who are doing types of marketing, but they're not seeing the ROI that they want, or that they're just throwing marketing tactics at the wall like spaghetti to see what sticks. And they don't have any way of tracking, you know, what's working for them. And so there's other people that I talk to, though, that, you know, maybe there's just mixed messages. There's too many people involved. Maybe the secretary sends out a newsletter and somebody else does something else and someone's in charge of their social media. And so it's just very disjointed and it's not as effective as it could be. And so what I like to do is help companies understand, so what are your business goals? And how do we create a marketing strategy that is really going to engage your customers? But to do that, I started this webinar series because I work with so many experts in the field. There are things that I know I'm really good at, but there are other people that are better than me when it comes to podcasts and web design and SEO. And so as a solopreneur, depending on what my clients need, I partner with other experts to create the perfect team to help meet people's goals. And so that is really where What Works was born. I wanted to share and showcase all the different things that are available for people so that business owners and leaders can be up to date on the latest marketing tactics and figure out, you know, how to incorporate some of these things into their own marketing strategies. Oh, is it going to work for me? There we go. So our agenda today, I'm going to talk first a little bit about marketing strategy versus tactics and kind of what's the difference. And then I'm going to turn it over to Camille, who is going to talk about, you know, why start a podcast? Is a podcast right for your business, for you? Can I get rich off my podcast? We all want to know that. And then what are some of the details and the techie stuff you need to know if you decide that you want to start a podcast? And then we'll wrap it up at the end with a Q&A session today. All right, so marketing strategy versus tactics. I use a process that I call the 5 keys, which is simply a way of managing the communication process. Because in order to have a really strong marketing strategy, there's some things that you really need to know. First, you need to know who you are as a company. What is your brand? Do you have your strong talking points? Do you know what makes you unique in the marketplace? Do you know what information your customers want to know? And then do you really know who your ideal customers are? I mean, have you taken the time to figure out where they get their communication messages, who they are as individuals, their values, all of the different things that go into making your customers unique? Because what you'll find is if you really tap into who you are as a company, why you do what you do, you're going to automatically attract your ideal customers because they're the people that want to be involved with a business like yours. The next step is goal setting. You know, it's taking your annual business goals and then breaking it down into smaller pieces so that you can create a marketing strategy that isn't so broad. You know, to eat an elephant, you've got to start with one bite. And so that's where it is with marketing strategy and marketing goals. You know, you're taking that big that big goal and breaking it down into smaller pieces that you can measure, and that you can really figure out what tactics are going to work to achieve that specific marketing goal. What I also like to do is from there, once you understand where your people are getting, where your customers are getting their information, you can figure out the right tactics that are right to meet that specific goal. And then you start making your strategy and putting in all of the different tools in place and the calendars in place to achieve that goal. Where I find a lot of people miss is the evaluation. It's so important to evaluate what's working and what doesn't. I wish I could tell you that communications was an exact science. It's just not. And so there is a little bit of trial and error involved. And sometimes it's a matter of figuring out, okay, well, this message really resonated and I got a lot of response and a lot of traction with that. Well, this message didn't get the same thing. So how do we either tweak it, or do I need to pull that tactic out of my marketing strategy? The last thing that I want you to do is waste time and money on things that aren't working for you. And that way you can better focus your energy on the things that really work. And so that is kind of that 5 keys to creating an overall marketing strategy for your business. What we're talking today about podcasts specifically, this is just one tactic. It's one tool in your toolbox for you to use as part of your strategy. And that's why I am super excited, because Camille Diaz is with us today. And Camille is a connector, author, coach, speaker, and financial professional who loves to empower people with knowledge and resources. Her desire is to see others succeed in business and in life, and to help inspired individuals design a path toward happiness, harmony, and financial security. Camille launched the podcast Money Heart during the quarantine in 2020 and has recorded over 75 episodes on the emotional side of money. And she is just an overall delightful human, and I am so excited that she is here to talk today. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn this over to her and let her talk to us all about podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. I am delighted to be here, delighted to share with you about podcasts. I love teaching. I've had a fabulous podcasting experience, and I'm excited to help you learn more about how that works if it's something you want to do. I'm going to share my screen and do a little slideshow. This will probably be a bit of a whirlwind. So if you don't get it all, don't panic. We can totally chat about it more. I'm going to do some links in the chat towards the end so that you can download a guide that kind of covers what I'm talking about, so you won't feel like, okay, I didn't write fast enough and I missed it. And then I'm also going to offer a free 15-minute consultation. If you want to talk about your podcast, we can talk about that together and kind of run through your idea or ask me questions or any of that kind of thing. So both of those things will be available to you. I'll put the links in at the end. So write what you can, but don't panic. Did my screen come up? Are you seeing it? Because I made it so it's on the side. Yes, it's working. All right, fabulous. So the objective for me here is to kind of help business owners understand the advantages and disadvantages of incorporating podcasting into their marketing, and then answer common questions that people usually ask me about time, energy, money, technical stuff, all of that kind of thing. So hence the whirlwind. I've got like 30 minutes to get through all of that, but we can do it. You can at least get the broad overview. Here's the thing. You can make podcasting as complicated or as simple as you want. So you can really put a lot of effort into it, do a lot of production, or not so much. It doesn't have to be that hard. You really can get started quick and easy and knock it out. I'm also going to end with a 10-step quick start guide. So how you can just immediately do a podcast if you want to get it done. So really simple. Okay. What's a podcast? In short, it's audio files that you put on the internet so that people can subscribe and listen to them. That's it. Super simple. It's also a verb, which means the act of putting the audio files on the internet so people can listen to them. Okay, so people use it both ways. So when you say podcasting, that could mean recording the actual thing, or it could mean putting it up there, whatever you want to do. So reasons to start a podcast. Listeners average listen to about 7 shows per week, which is up from 2017, where people average 5 a week. 80% listen to all or most of the episode. 50% of US homes are podcast fans. So somebody in there is listening. This one is really cool if you're using this to grow your business or for marketing. 45% of monthly podcast listeners have a household income over $75,000 a year versus 35% for the total population. So podcast listeners are a little more wealthy than the average. And for most of us who have a business, that's who we want to target. 65% have been listening for less than 3 years. So podcasting is definitely growing in popularity, and it can be a great way to reach people. Especially now that everybody's back to driving around again. If you're in the car, a lot of people listen in the car, they listen to relax after work, that kind of thing. The average age tends to be younger than the general population. So if you're wanting to reach a younger audience, a podcast might be a way to do it. I have noticed on my show, my average age tends to be older. So it also depends on your topic. I didn't plan it that way. I started it because I just was inspired to start it. But I've kind of learned and discovered that that's the case for me. Why start a podcast? There's kind of 3 reasons you might do this. You'd want to do it as a hobby. You want to do it as a business. Basically, you're going to be in the podcasting business, or you're going to do it as part of your overall marketing and branding strategy. So drop in the chat for me. What is your reason for wanting to start a podcast, or why are you interested in hearing about it? Kind of want to get a feel for what everybody's goal is on this. So hobby, business, or marketing strategy. Okay, I'm gonna pull the chat, see what everybody says. Hobby, cool, cool, cool. Marketing strategy. Okay, I gotta make my chat bigger. Let me see if I can do that. Yes. Brand awareness as a complete business. Cool. Marketing strategy. Not really sure, but thinking about it. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so most people wanting to use this as a piece of their marketing strategy, a couple people wanting to do it for fun, and a couple people wanting to do this as this is going to be my whole business. So excellent. I think we'll be able to speak to everybody today. Top question. Can I get rich off my podcast? First thing everybody wants to know. How much money am I going to make off this thing? Okay, here's what you need to do if you want to get rich off your podcast. It needs to be your primary business, or a primary business that you're running. That's how you're going to make money off of it. You got to have a product strategy. You got to have a marketing strategy, all the stuff you would do for any other business. You'll probably need 5,000 to 10,000 listeners per month to start attracting sponsors. You're going to probably want to put some of your content behind a paywall. And so you create what's called premium content that listeners pay to listen to. And you'll need to leverage that podcast into other money-making forms. So live events or shows, physical products, books, the premium content, you've got to get sponsors, all of that kind of thing. So if you're really wanting your podcast to be a revenue generator, you've got to run it like a full business with a whole business plan and all of that kind of stuff behind it. The people who have podcasts that are making millions in ad revenue have hundreds of millions of downloads. So just so you kind of have an idea there, if you want to make millions of dollars off your podcast, you're going to have hundreds of millions of people downloading your episodes every time you put them out. That's what's going to pull in the sponsors, and that's going to give you a big enough number to get those people that want your premium content. How can I use my podcast as part of my marketing strategy? So this is what most of you want to do and what people usually ask me about. You give me an idea. Let's do it. Before I give you all the answers, throw that in the chat. What do you think? How could you use this? What kind of comes to mind when you're thinking, I'm going to use this as part of my strategy?
Well, I mean, you can use it as a way to add value to people's
Absolutely. You can totally add
business.
value. Yes.
Like the 10 tips of website design, and talk
Perfect.
about those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Outreach to possible clients. Do it like a blog. Yes. Answers to common questions. Yes. Everybody's got it now. Bringing topics to life versus written materials. Quicker way for people to figure out what you do. Absolutely. Like a promo reel. Drive awareness, build street cred for sure. Definitely build you as an expert. Provide education, drive entertainment. Fantastic. Okay. So everybody kind of knows what you might want to do. It gives you evergreen content for sure. You've got something to put on your website, your emails, your social media. You can repurpose it. You can grab quotes out of it, all of that kind of thing. You can use it to answer most common questions for your business. So you can either record them, you can send it out to prospects after you meet. Hey, we talked about this, thought this episode might be helpful for you. You can use it as an instructional series, either on your website or as an opt-in for your email list. So if you want to build your list, you say, hey, I've got this, 5 tips of whatever, sign up, and then you drip that content out to them. You can add value to those in your network by featuring them on the show. You can expand your network as you meet potential guests. And you can compile the content into a book or a workshop. So if you've done a whole bunch of these and you're like, you know what, I've got 30 of these things, I could put them together and teach them all. Or you can reuse existing content by turning a current book or workshop into a podcast. You're just going to go through the pieces, and each chapter or each bit is going to be a podcast. And I know some of you on here have books already or workshops. Okay. And then, of course, anything else you can think of. A little bit of what I've gained from podcasting. So some of the experience that I've had, like Elizabeth said in the beginning, Money Heart was my quarantine baby. When I stopped networking and talking to people, my creativity grew back, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I figured it out. First episode was May 14th, 2020. It was kind of cool. When I first went to do it, I put a post on Facebook on a Friday afternoon, text only, no picture, no video, no nothing. And I said, hey, thinking about starting a podcast, anybody want to do it with me? And in about 24 hours, my network of people, 30 of them had responded and said, I'm in, what do I need to do? Because I didn't even say what the topic was. I didn't say the time commitment. I didn't say anything. And they just said yes. So that was amazing. And I loved it. And then I also went, oh, guess I'm doing this now. Because I had not anticipated that kind of response. But it's okay. I got it together and we got it done. And that post was I think in April. And so I had about a month turnaround time of frantically recording episodes and getting them done. Cool thing is I have something to post every single week. Always have something to post and share. I have met people I never would have met, and I have heard so many fabulous stories from all of these people. It is like I've read 100 books because of all the wonderful stories and information I've gotten. I've really upped my interviewing skills, which is fantastic for the sales process because I'm asking great questions and I'm thinking about what they're saying and all that. So there's a lot of personal growth that happens when you're doing a podcast with guests. My network has expanded exponentially because nobody has a problem introducing me to someone that might be on the podcast as a guest. A lot of people get nervous to introduce a financial professional or a business coach to somebody because they're like, I don't know if I should bring it up. So it's really great to talk to people. I have also received introductions to ideal clients after I've spoken with people. People have joined my financial services team. They've become clients. I've gained new coaching clients. I've gotten known for wearing costumes, which is kind of one of my things. So real quick, I'm going to let you take a little squirrel break here. There's the link in the chat. Click it and open my Instagram real fast. Or if you want an Instagram on your phone, you can look at Money Heart Show and you'll see all the costumes. I'm going to watch your faces because I'll know as soon as you've done it. Okay, as soon as you start smiling with surprise, I know you've done it. Peter, Michael, put that away. I see you over there looking like a bear. It's distracting for people. All right, so I chose to wear a costume. Thank you, Patricia. I see you holding it up. I chose to wear a costume on my show. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not. Am I just weird and love costumes? Absolutely yes. Okay, that was just a thing that I wanted to do. It inspired me. It was something I naturally already did. I have a closet filled with them, and it has become part of my brand. So much so that I have had brands reach out to me and say, hey, would you wear our stuff as part of your costume? So it's just really grown. Thank you. You love the Where's Waldo? Yes, that's definitely been a really popular one so far. It has made me totally comfortable on video, so I have no problem recording things now or going live or anything like that. And really good at taking selfies, as you can see from the Instagram, which in social media world is actually quite a useful skill. It's great to know which side's your good side. You'll see I'm turned the same way in almost all of them. And I intentionally try to turn the other way sometimes, and I hate all the pictures that I turn the other way. Sometimes my costume is based on the guest or topic. Usually what the deal is there is I offer for my guests to wear a costume. If they want to, then they pick the theme and I match it. And if they don't want to, then I just pick something that I think will work or that matches the theme or them or something like that. Okay, and I'm having a blast. I think it's the best thing ever. So it's been really great. I'm going to pause real quick for questions and comments if somebody has anything quick, because next part we're going to go on to the details and techie stuff. So does anybody, you can drop it in the chat or you can face made for radio, Michael, please. The nice thing is a podcast is traditionally just audio. So if you have a face made for radio, you're in great shape. Podcast is perfect for you. I choose to add the video element and add the photos because people like to see things, and that is very popular right now, but you do not have to do that. You can totally just make audio and publish it, and that is the fastest, easiest way. All this video stuff takes way more time, effort, and energy than just doing the audio piece and putting the photos. You could just go on Canva and make a little thing. They have like little GIFs or short videos with little audio thing going up and down. Pick one of those, slap your colors on it, put some words, push it out, you're done. Okay, so it can be really, really simple. I make things harder than they need to be, but I also enjoy doing it that way. So I found it to be very effective. Any other questions real quick before we go to the techie piece? Am I talking too fast? Is your brain melty? Or are we good? We're good? Awesome. Okay. Techie stuff. First thing, know your why. You've got to know the reason for starting the podcast, or you're not going to have a successful podcast. What value will you bring to your listeners? Okay. Is it going to be information they can use? Is it going to be for entertainment? You can have any reason you want. You just need to know what that reason is. What value will you bring to your business? Okay, so if you are doing this for fun, you don't have to worry about it. You're just going to bring value to your listeners, and who cares what happens with your business because it's not related. But if podcasting is your business, or you are using this as part of your marketing and branding strategy, you want to think about what value you're adding to your business as you're planning and growing the show. One piece of your big picture marketing strategy. So is this one piece? Is this the whole thing? How does this fit in? Okay, because it's only going to be that one section. Podcast is going to be one thing, probably not going to be your entire marketing strategy. Is it going to be a revenue stream? Are you going to go for getting sponsors? Because if you want to go for getting sponsors, you need to be thinking about what kind of sponsors you want to attract as you're creating the show, so that you're creating something that sponsors will flock to and purchase time on. Okay. Is it to build brand awareness? If it is, then you want to make sure you're focusing your shows on things that are related to your brand. You're probably not going to pick a random topic that doesn't have anything to do with your business. And are you trying to get business growth out of this? So if you want to build introductions and referrals, you probably want to have a show that's going to feature some guests rather than a solo show that's just you. Okay, choosing a topic. This is always kind of hard at the beginning if you're not quite sure what you want it to be. So here are some things to think about. Comedy is the most popular genre. That's the one most people will listen to, followed by education and news. As a business, you're probably going to fall into that education category because most likely you're going to do something related to your business that's going to teach something, explain something, help people grow. You want to create evergreen content. So if you're making something like a news show that's really time sensitive, that's going to be difficult for you to reshare over and over because people already know that. So you want evergreen content that somebody's going to want to listen to 2, 3, 5 years down the road. You're going, oh yeah, that's still helpful. I still need to know what the first step is if I have an idea to write a book, or I still need to know, my friend is now having a baby, so how should they save for college? Things like that. So something that will be evergreen. For example, Elizabeth King and I recorded an episode that's coming out next Thursday. So next week, her episode will be out on impactful giving. She can share that with her clients all the time. Anytime that they're talking about a marketing strategy that has to do with giving, she can say, hey, here's an episode that I recorded about how your giving can help your brand, but also help the world, and share that over and over. So it's going to be evergreen content. When you're picking your topic, keep it narrow enough to be understood. People need to easily be able to tell a friend what it's about. Okay. You need to keep it broad enough to expand. You'd hate to run out of episodes 10 episodes in, okay? Unless you're just intending it to be really small, but maybe you want to do a second set later. So my example here is, if your topic is scrambled eggs, you've probably got 8 to 10 episodes about scrambled eggs, and then everybody's bored and doesn't care anymore. But if your topic is the amazing egg, you've got baking, chemistry, physics, biology, everything you can cook, all the ways of an egg. So sauces, breakfast, lunch, all of it. Okay. So tons of stuff that you can put in there. Okay. And it's still easy to describe to a friend. If the show is The Amazing Egg, oh my gosh, you got to listen to this podcast, The Amazing Egg. They do everything with eggs. Last week they dropped one off of a building, and this week they're making a souffle. And people are like, huh. And then it's something interesting. Okay. So when you're thinking about it, really try to pick a topic that is, you can tell your friend really right away what it is. And keep your title short and catchy and simple. A long drawn out title is going to lose people. Think about the fact that they're looking at this on their phone, because that's where most of us are going to search for our podcast. So they've got to be able to see it on their phone screen. If they can't read it and it's trailing off the screen and you've got some words that don't really tell anything, how to, and then they can't see the rest, it's not going to be a great title that people can find. Okay, format. Is it going to be just you? Is it going to be you and a guest? Is it going to be a panel or a group? Is it going to be you and a co-host? Are you going to have a rotation of regulars? And are you going to teach something? Is it discussion, question and answer, kind of a mix of all of those things? You're going to change it up. All of these are options. And it kind of helps if you know ahead of time what it's going to be, so you can sort of structure your episodes in a way that makes sense. Your audience is going to want to know what to expect when they listen to one of your episodes. People get really familiar with it, like, oh, I like this one. They always have 2 people on that they ask questions, and those experts have opposite views, something like that. They want to know what's coming. Need to choose a schedule. You can post daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you want to do. You can record them all at once and release a mini series. So you do 5 to 10 episodes and you're done. You can also do seasons, so you can have a part of the year on and then take time off. This is what I've switched to. I started out weekly. Episodes come out every Thursday. I did that for over a year. And by the time we got to this last summer, I was completely burned out. I was like, am I even going to keep doing this? Yes, I love it. No, I'm tired of it. Like, I was just fried. And I said, oh, wait, I'll just do what everybody else does and take a break. Hello. So I put the show, I said, okay, end of season 1, it happened early June, somewhere in June. And then I picked it back up after the beginning of September. So I just took the summer off, worked out great. Season 2 started again, back to weekly, and I'm good. I'm no longer burned out. I'm happy. I'm excited. We're rocking and rolling again. And then sporadic, you can do it that way. It's not recommended. Okay, random episodes that no one knows when it's coming out does not help you, and it does not help you grow your audience. Your audience can't follow that. They have no idea when the next episode's coming out, so they're not watching for it, they're not planning for it, they're not anticipating it, they're not excited about it. So whatever schedule you pick, be consistent. Weekly is kind of a lot, really is. Daily is really, really a lot. But some people do a daily 5-minute thing, and maybe they record, 2 or 3 weeks worth all at once because they're only doing 5-minute episodes. And then they just queue them all up and it's not a big deal for them. So it can be done. Monthly is probably the easiest to start with if you want to do a recurring thing. And then the mini series is even easier because you knock them all out, publish it, you're good. And if you decide to do a season 2, a year later, you totally can. Okay. Find a platform. Here's where the details are. And I have to give you info on the stuff that's out right now. The technology is always changing. So what I share with you now, next year could be totally different, but this is where it's at the moment. Anchor.fm is free. They just got purchased by Spotify. And I use them and I really like it. The system is simple, it's easy, it works well, it's consistent, it lets you queue stuff up, it lets you edit all the things. When I was searching last year for platforms, Buzzsprout was the best paid option I found. So if you're wanting a paid option, I liked Buzzsprout. You're creating premium content. So you're going to charge your listeners to hear certain episodes or hear longer episodes. Then you'll probably have to go through something like Patreon, and you'll be giving up a percentage to do that. So when I say platform, I mean, where are you putting the podcast? Where are you uploading your file so that it will get distributed to everybody else? Okay, that's what platform means. You have to put it somewhere for people to find it. You can just put it on your website, but when you do that, it's not going to get pushed through any of the podcast channels. So people are usually listening. My audio dropped off. Am I still, who's hearing me? Raise hand. Yes? Okay, cool. So if people are looking for the podcast, you're gonna want it to show up in their Apple Podcasts, on their Google, on their Spotify, on those channels, because those channels will push every time you put one out. So when they open up the app, the new one pops up in their face and they're like, oh, hey, great, there's a new Money Heart, and they click on it. Okay, that's what you want. You want those downloads and for people to be consistently listening. Yes, some hosts have private streams built in now. So yeah, you can do it. There's tons and tons of ways, tons and tons of ways. You're absolutely right, Jesse. So
you put it on
this is just kind of what I'm doing, but there are infinite number of options out there to use. If you want to add video, you'll need a platform for video. So platform for video is, you can use YouTube. That works really well. If you want to do Instagram, people are using that IGTV sometimes. It just depends on where your target audience is. Okay. Choose where you want to drive your listeners, and you're going to link back there. Are you just wanting the podcast to go up? Probably wanting them to come back to your website in some way so that they will see your other services. So kind of think about that as you're choosing where I'm going to put this thing. Facebook just added a feature where you can link to your RSS feed. And for those who don't know, RSS stands for RDF Site Summary, or it's also called Really Simple Syndication. Basically a way for other computers to find your content online, okay? And so it will pull, once you have your podcast hosted somewhere, you can tell all the other places to go pull that feed and push it out all over the place. Okay, next piece. I like to record on Zoom. Even if I just wanted to publish the audio, I kind of like Zoom because the person I'm talking to sees me, and it helps us to have a better conversation for people who are visual. So we could do it just over the phone and I could have a recording thing, but I found that the video seems to work better. It also will record a separate video and audio track for you. So you get the video ready to go, you get a separate audio ready to go, and you can just upload those directly, or you can edit them in whatever your favorite thing is. You can record directly on Anchor. So if you want to do it that way, you can do that. I've been on other people's podcasts and they use multiple different platforms. So whatever makes you happy works. This is how I'm making it work. I use Total Recorder for audio editing. There's a little program that we bought. It's very simple, but it works quite well. Okay, Jesse uses Riverside.fm, so that works for him. We've got, I think that a lot of the services now will let you edit. So I believe Anchor will allow you to edit on their platform. I just don't do it that way. I like to do all my editing beforehand and then just upload the finished product. I used Purple Planet for licensing my intro and outro music. I know Anchor has some standard music built in. Canva now has some audio stuff that you can use. So there's a whole bunch of places to get audio now. Same thing with video. I use Filmora by Wondershare for editing video. think I mentioned this before, but just so you know, the video is the thing that takes all the time. Seriously, it just sucks up all the time. So you have to get really good at video editing or plan to spend hours doing it. By the way, on my podcast, I do one and done. I've only ever edited, like truly edited pieces in and out of 2 episodes. One where somebody just had a coughing fit and couldn't stop. And so that was like a minute of coughing and I edited that out. And then another one where the guest's son came home and immediately started talking to her and the dog flipped out and started barking. And I was like, okay, we're going to be editing that. So those are the only 2 that I've edited. Other than that, we pretty much just go straight through because I ain't got time for that. If you want to edit, you totally can. You can produce, do as much production on your episode as you want to make the quality higher. Canva and YouTube have built-in video editors now, so it's getting even easier to edit video than it was in the past. And then, of course, if you don't want to do any of that, there's plenty of people to do this for you, so you can hire somebody to do it for you. All right, where to post? Literally everywhere. Once you have content, reuse it, reshare it, keep posting it all over the place, every way possible. Pick where you want to drive your listeners, send them back there. Even if you're not doing video, you can make a little short audio clip and put video with it, like stock graphics, and post it that way so that people will still stop scrolling when they're on social media. If you are going to do video, even if you're doing a little snippet, because I do this, I pull a little snippet from our video and then put subtitles on it. Because again, when people are scrolling, they're going to read the subtitles. They might not be in a place where they're listening for sound. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you are subtitling if you're using video. Okay, here's my 10-step quick start guide. If you just want to knock this out, get some kind of podcast up and not have to worry about it. Okay. Step 1, choose a topic and title. Step 2, it's going to be a mini series. So plan out the whole series with the title for each episode and descriptions. Line up some guests or co-hosts or write a script for yourself, whatever format you've chosen on that. Record on Zoom. Upload your audio files to Anchor FM. Add an intro and outro music using their library. So you didn't even have to do anything. No extra production. Make some cover art using templates on Canva. You can do that for free. Okay, slap it together. You just go in, you're like, podcast cover, it'll come up with stuff. Okay. Copy the titles and show notes from each episode in your initial plan. Those descriptions you wrote, that's going to be your show notes. Okay, so as you're putting your descriptions up, it's going to be there. And then cue the episodes to release on a schedule. Don't drop them all on one day. Space them out however you are wanting to space them out. If they're going to be weekly, or if you're doing a special, thing over 2 weeks or whatever you want to do, just cue them up. And then share it everywhere. Once you've done the work, share it everywhere, reuse it, take pieces of it, send it to clients, send it to prospects, put it in your emails, put it on your social media, all the things. Okay, questions and takeaways. Here's what I would love to hear from you. And so I want to know, what was the most interesting thing you learned? I would also love to know what's one thing you'll implement if you start a podcast. And then if you have questions, we're going to give you a chance to ask it. I'm going to go through kind of what the next steps are, and then Elizabeth's going to talk a little bit, and then I'll get to all of the questions. So that way we'll end on time, but if you want to stay extra and ask questions, I've reserved time for that so I can hang out and make sure everybody gets questions answered at least a little bit. You can either put your questions in the chat, or you can start hitting the little hand raise button if you want to be in the queue for talking. So download the free PDF and quick launch guide. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of links in the chat here real quick. Okay, so there you go. So download the PDF. It includes the quick start guide. So you'll kind of have a rough outline of what we went over and that guide. If you want to chat with me about your podcast idea, happy to do that. Book a 15-minute consultation, totally free. You can talk about your idea. If you have questions on stuff we covered, happy to answer it. If you're like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not sure, we can kind of flesh that out, whatever I can do to help you in that 15 minutes. If you want more stuff from me, you can join my Facebook group, the Optimized Zone. So jump on Facebook, search for the Optimized Zone. The picture is orange and it's a picture of my face. So there's like my face and orange background. So it should be really easy to know that you got the right group. And then check out my podcast, Money Heart. It's on all of the podcast channels, and it's also on YouTube. Anywhere on social media, you're going to search for @MoneyHeartShow, and you should be able to find it through that. All right, Miss Elizabeth, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It is back over to you, and then we'll go back to questions and takeaways. I really do want to hear what everybody thought. And you're muted, in case you didn't know that.
Can you hear me now? All right, well, Camille, thank you again. That was incredibly, incredibly helpful. And I really wish I'd had some of that information before I did my first podcast series. That really would have been really good knowledge to know. So what I wanted to, before we get to Q&As, I wanted to share with you the next 2 webinars we have coming up. So on December 16th, I'm going to host a little mini workshop. Since I really focus on marketing strategy and the new year is just around the corner, I am going to do kind of a mini workshop that's going to go through those 5 keys that I talked about earlier and really help you understand what you need to know to create a strong marketing strategy. And then in January, Dominic, who's on the call today, he is going to be sharing with us how to unlock the secrets of SEO. I don't know if any of you just kind of know the term SEO, and from there you're like, I know I need it, but I have no idea what it does, or how to do it, or, you know, am I paying somebody too much to do this? You know, he's just going to unlock all those secrets for us, and I'm very excited about that as well. And so let's just open it up to some questions.
Awesome, awesome. And then can we take a picture real quick before everybody starts having to leave? Would that be okay?
Definitely, I would love that.
Yay. Okay, everybody do the thing where you smile. 1, 2, 3. Yay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so takeaways and questions. What are people going to implement after this? What was the most helpful for you? I would really love to know. And I see Peter's got his hand raised, so we'll let you go first, Peter. What's that?
Yeah, first of all, great job. You
you.
confirmed a lot of things I already knew about this, because we, with the authors, we do a lot of podcasts, teaching and stuff like that too. So great job presentation. The growth that I've seen in you in the last 2 years has been amazing. So stay on that track. The question I've got is, when I went to get your 10-step program, your 10-step guide, when the page is a very professional page, your picture is halfway through down the page, but the top picture is someone else. How come that's not you?
Because stock photography was easy, but you're right. Maybe I'll need to change it and make it me. I can do that.
Okay, I think that'd be a good idea.
All right, I'll switch it. I needed one with a microphone. I don't have a microphone that's the same that way, but I'll figure it out.
I'm sure you can borrow one from someone.
Okay.
You can borrow mine.
Make it happen. I can borrow yours. Thank you, Dominic. Okay.
There you go. There you go. See?
Perfect. Problem solved.
You can always fake it and just open your mouth and then digitally put it there.
And put one in. You're right. I could do that.
There you
Yes.
go. So I was just curious, because
Cool.
everything else is so polished and nice. And I saw that picture. I was like, who's that?
Incongruous. Okay. I will solve it. Thank you. Chantel.
Yes, thank you for that, Camille. Would you suggest having a certain number of following or traction before starting a podcast?
It's really hard to have podcast listeners before you have a podcast. So I would say you're going to have to build your podcast listeners once it's done. However, when you're creating it, definitely share it with everybody that already follows you. And if you don't have a professional page or something like that, you can still share it on your personal social media and say, hey, started a podcast, have a listen, that type of thing. So you could still be sharing it to your existing people as you're growing your podcast audience. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. Patricia, you are up next.
Great. And I would concur that this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was wondering, I'm not sure that you covered like actual equipment. So I'm wondering about like what type of microphone. Do you need a soundproof room? You may or may not know, I have a very active opera singer living directly above me here in Brooklyn Heights. He's the brownstone baritone, and he performs regularly. So he's sometimes part of my Zoom calls. I often am able to coordinate with him so that we're not, if I'm doing a TV interview, he's not, you know, singing at the same time. But I am curious to know, brownstone baritone or not, are there forms of equipment and sort of soundproofing that would be desirable or essential? Yeah.
Right. So I would say nothing is essential other than having something that's good enough that people can hear you clearly. It's not breaking up. People aren't getting frustrated listening to you. That's kind of the lowest barrier, is it needs to be clear and it needs to be good enough quality that people will be willing to listen to it and not feeling like, oh, I can't listen to this anymore because it's really choppy or awkward or whatever. After that, it's up to you what level of professional recording quality sound you want to have. I literally just record on Zoom. I have a Logitech camera that has a mic built in. I purchased a separate microphone. When I got a new computer and hooked it up, it was worse than my regular camera microphone. Like if the sound quality went down and I'm like, whoa, that's no good. So I stopped using it. So it's really just depends on what your system works. Don't worry, Michael, I see you. We got multiple hands raised over there. So it really just it depends on what sounds good on your system and what level of quality you want to achieve. If you are doing this just to promote yourself and promote your business, I would say, 80% is good. You want it to be good, but you don't have to make it a show that you're getting $1 million sponsors and, that kind of thing, because you're not at that level. If you are trying to build to a level where you do want to attract those sponsors that are going to want to pay you $100,000 to have a spot for a year on your show or whatever, okay, then your production quality needs to go up accordingly, and you might want to book studio time and things like that. As far as your baritone in the background, that one's a little rough. I know that Zoom does automatically try to filter out sound that is not you speaking directly to your microphone. So it has kind of a built-in filter, but it may not be enough. You may just need to continue to coordinate with him. Hey, I'm doing a recording type of a thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hopefully that answered what you were asking.
Sure did. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Jesse, you're up next.
Less of a question, more of a pitch. I'm actually, and this is my own fault, but I'm actually a podcast producer, an audiobook producer. And I signed up for this session thinking it was going to be more podcast people talking about how they do this thing, not people who are wanting to start one. So if anyone does have specific questions about technology or whatnot, I'm happy to answer any of those questions off air. Also, for the people who are concerned about sound, the easiest way to soundproof yourself is literally, I know it's going to sound silly, it's just put a blanket over yourself and the computer. That's it. That's all you got to do. You'll get very warm very quickly, but you'll sound great. So.
Yep. Just create that little barrier. So if you're not doing video, it's super easy for talking.
That's true. Hey, if you are doing video, then that's a separate conversation.
A little weird. Yeah. But it would totally work. Cool. I'd love to connect with you, because that sounds like, as people ask me these questions, I could easily connect them with you for the more difficult technical stuff. So that would be awesome. Thanks. Okay, Michael, it is your turn.
Well, I wasn't trying to interrupt you, but I'm like, that kid on Welcome Back, Carter, that goes, ooh, 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 ooh. So, and you're the teacher, so I'm like getting corrected here. But anyway,
I'm just watching. I like to watch everybody. That is a teaching habit that I have over 20 years of teaching. And so I'm just always watching it. And if I see somebody who really wants to talk, I want to acknowledge them right away so that you're not having 5 minutes of frustration while it's not your turn.
Yeah, the teacher always asks me to leave the room. So
Oh, no, you could stay. We're good.
But I just wanted to add, Patricia, and I really want to apologize for the baritone singing. I'm that guy that lives next door to you, and so it's true. But I will, no, just joking. What I'd like to say is, importance is lighting, and you did say sound, and it doesn't have to be expensive. But, the lighting is, I mean, you can go to Home Depot and get like LED lights, that are great for video. And, you can buy a light that goes behind your computer. And sound now is so inexpensive. They have something called the Brio, and it's expensive, but you're combining the sound and the video, and it really heightens your performance. But so.
Yeah, it actually can be really simple. And that's a great point about lighting on video. I don't have it on right now because it blinds me, and sitting for an hour with blinding, if I don't have to, then I don't. But my light is literally a lamp from Target that costs less than $5 that I just taped a tissue paper over the front of it, and it works great. So here, 1 second, I'm gonna turn it on for you. Ta-da. Okay, that's it. Literally just $5 lamp back there.
Yeah. And one more thing, Dominic could probably talk about it too, because we both do SEO. You can also do very inexpensive Facebook boosting or Facebook ads, or even, there are people out here like myself and Dominic that do Google, and you can build your database by putting these ads to people who are really interested in your podcasts. You can really totally demographically fix it. Yeah.
Totally can. Jesse, you had something about lighting. Is that what you wanted to throw in?
No, I was just turning on my webcam's light.
Turning on your light.
Built in. Yeah, it depends on if you're just lighting yourself versus lighting multiple people. Lighting yourself is easy. Lighting multiple people is hard.
That is hard. That is much harder. Yes. And sometimes when my guests have come on, we kind of have to play with where they are in their room. Sometimes they'll be in there and I see that it is just the windows open behind them and I can't see their face at all. And I'm like, that's not going to make a good recording. So I sometimes will have to ask them, hey, can we shift you around a little bit so we can get some more light on your face and not so much behind you, type of a thing. Okay, there was a question in the chat about as far as length of the podcast. Personally, I think my shortest episode is 15 minutes. My longest episodes, I think I have 2 that are just under an hour. They kind of went long because I had a really chatty guest and we had really great content. So most of my episodes are in the 20 to 35 minute range. That tends to be where mine go because I'm doing an interview style and we're doing kind of an in-depth topic. We're talking about the emotional side of money. So there's a lot of stories and personal stuff that's happening there. If you were doing an informational podcast, I saw Elizabeth posted that the average is 7 minutes for something like that. You could totally knock out a 5 to 7 minute podcast and have shorter episodes. You do not have to do something long. And in fact, people are very likely to listen to something that's short. They may not want this long drawn out deal. Cheryl, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Camille, thank you so much. Really great stuff. Very just succinct and enjoyed it. I am a producer for a podcast for the company I work for. And we've just finished our 2nd season. Each season's had quite a few episodes, probably up to 20. So my question is, as we are taking a break and getting ready to go into our season 3, I'm just trying to, what I'm kind of interested in is seeing where we need to go next with our strategy. The co-founders of the company that I work for who do the podcast, they really would like sponsors. But as I pointed out, it's always interesting to me to hear that you need so many listeners and downloads to attract them. So I'm not sure quite what my question is in there other than okay, so I know we've talked a lot about starting a podcast and I love the way you presented it, that it's not as hard as it seems because we've done it every way. We've done it doing it ourselves. We've done it having someone come in and with lights and cameras. Honestly, it's easy to do it yourself. So kind of where would you recommend someone who's kind of gotten their toes in the water and, our listeners have kind of plateaued? It's not a real high number, but it's consistent. But kind of what would you recommend next?
Yeah, so consistent is good. And if you are wanting to grow it to where you can start attracting sponsors, now is probably the time when you need to chat with somebody about a marketing strategy. Because it sounds to me like what the next step for you would be, okay, where is my target audience, or where can I find the people that are most likely to enjoy my podcast? And then how do I reach those people? Do I need to get really active on Instagram? Do I want to create a Facebook group? Things like that. And so you can start figuring out where your audience is, how you're solving their problem or providing something that interests them, and putting little snippets and stuff right where they're going to see it and find it. So maybe creating those little quotes that you pull out so that you're putting that tiny piece up. If you have video, pulling little bits of video, but if you don't, just putting the audio over some other type of graphic so that it's still kind of a scroll stopper. Because like you said, you've got to build your numbers in order to attract the sponsors. So the next step is to chat with somebody about marketing, build a strategy to grow your audience so that then you can say, hey, sponsor people, I have this many people. The other thing I would think about on that is your upcoming episodes. What are they about? So if you are kind of talking about your brand and your product, that's less attractive to sponsors because there's already kind of a sponsor of the show. So if you're doing something that's a little more broadly educational or entertainment, that might be more attractive to sponsors who are going to go, okay, cool. This show is the show is not going to detract from my sponsorship. It's going to have a lot of people listening, and it's not a message that will pull people away from what I'm advertising.
Thank you. That's excellent. Thank you.
Yep. Elizabeth.
Camille, we have reached an hour. So
We
we've
have.
reached an hour. So at this point in time, I'm going to stop recording. I want to thank everybody for being here today. This was probably one of the best webinars we've done yet, and it was so informative and great, and I got so much out of this. I'm going to stop recording now, but I know Camille has a little bit of time, so if anyone wants to stay on and ask some questions, she'll be here for that.
Yep,
but if you need to drop off, I get it. And I hope to see you guys next month when we're talking about how to create your own marketing strategy.
Save the chat if you want those links. I'm going to put them in again for you. So 3 dots in the bottom right, save the chat so that you can grab the guide, book the 15 minutes free if you want to do that with me, Facebook group, and then of course the link to my podcast.
And all of those will also be in the follow-up email with a copy of this recording. So you'll have all of that in case you don't get the chat or something doesn't work.
Cool. Okay, who else has questions and things? Because we can totally